What if everything you believe about wealth is only half the truth? Most people spend their lives chasing money but never discover why Solomon, the richest man in biblical history, didn't have to run after it at all. In fact, the principles he followed are so counterintuitive that today's financial experts would call them risky, outdated, or downright foolish. But here's the uncomfortable reality. His godly business practices produced more prosperity than any modern system ever could. Let's be clear, this isn't about quick hacks or shallow prosperity slogans. It's about tapping into the same ancient wisdom that built an empire of abundance so vast it left kings speechless. If you've ever felt torn between honoring God and make money without guilt, you're exactly who this message is for. Solomon's laws are not relics. They're living strategies that can multiply your resources, expand your purpose, and create a legacy no recession can erase. In the next few moments, you're going to see how divine ownership, radical generosity, and fearless faith form an unbreakable foundation. You'll learn why your Christian business was never meant to survive on human effort alone, and how to align it with a kingdom mission that outlasts your lifetime. But fair warning, once you see this blueprint, you won't be able to settle for small thinking again. You'll either step into the life God designed or spend the next decade wondering why you didn't. So, if you're ready to unlock the biblical laws that create limitless riches, keep reading. Because what you discover here might just shift everything. The law of divine ownership, recognizing God as the true source of wealth. Solomon's story begins with a truth many overlook in their pursuit of riches. He never claimed ownership over his fortune. Instead, he believed every treasure was entrusted to him by God to steward wisely. This mindset flips the modern obsession with make money on its head. When you see your income as God's provision, not your entitlement, you unlock a deeper responsibility. That shift alone can transform a struggling Christian business into a vessel of divine impact. Consider how this law plays out in today's world. Many godly business leaders like David Green of Hobby Lobby openly declare their companies belong to the Lord. They tithe on profits, reinvest in kingdom projects, and run their businesses with humility. If you feel your business is yours alone, start each day by saying, "Lord, this is your enterprise. Use it for your glory." That declaration realigns your motives from scarcity to abundance. This principle also challenges the illusion that wealth equals security. Solomon famously wrote, "Riches profit not in the day of wrath." Proverbs 11:4, reminding us that money without surrender is hollow. By seeing yourself as a manager, you can release the anxiety that comes from clinging too tightly. Imagine how free you'd feel if you knew God was your ultimate provider, not just your client list or investment portfolio. If you run a Christian business, you can integrate this law practically. For example, before making any big financial decision, like launching a new product or hiring a team, pause to pray and dedicate that choice to God. Some entrepreneurs even keep a dedicated God account where they set aside funds specifically for kingdom purposes, reinforcing their conviction that wealth is only passing through their hands. It's also vital to teach this mindset to your team and family. Let them see that every paycheck is part of a larger spiritual economy. Solomon's wisdom suggests that when a household or organization acknowledges divine ownership, God entrusts more resources. After all, why would the Creator pour blessings into hands that hoard them selfishly? So if you've been wrestling with the fear of losing it all, remember Solomon's starting point. Nothing was ever truly his. It was all God's to begin with, and always will be. As you reflect on this, you'll find your heart softening, your vision expanding, and your faith rising to new heights, which sets the stage perfectly to discover how purpose-driven profit can magnify everything you touch. The law of purpose-driven profit. Wealth with a kingdom mission. Many people think making money is the ultimate goal, but Solomon knew wealth was just a tool for something far greater. He built a kingdom not only rich in gold, but rich in purpose. When a Christian business is anchored in a mission that glorifies God, profit becomes a powerful servant rather than a ruthless master. This is why Proverbs 16:3 says, "Commit your works to the Lord, and your thoughts will be established." Picture this: a godly business owner who sells simple handmade candles but dedicates a portion of each sale to fund clean water projects, or an online consultant who uses their platform to share biblical insights with clients. Purpose-driven profit multiplies because it resonates with hearts hungry for meaning. Customers feel it, employees feel it, and heaven takes notice. One practical way to embody this law is to define a clear why statement for your business. Why does it exist beyond paying bills? Solomon built the temple not as a monument to himself, but as a dwelling place for God's presence. What's your temple? Maybe it's supporting missionaries, mentoring young entrepreneurs, or helping families break cycles of debt. Write it down. Frame it where you see it daily. This mindset also reshapes how you talk about money. Instead of feeling guilty about prosperity, you can embrace it as a divine assignment. Solomon prayed not for riches, but for wisdom. And God rewarded him with wealth because he had the right priorities. If your first aim is impact, abundance often follows as a byproduct. That's the paradox of purpose-driven profit. You gain more by giving more. When you structure your godly business around a mission, you inspire others to rally behind you. Investors, customers, and partners are drawn to organizations that stand for something eternal. Think about companies like Chick-fil-A, whose founder built the brand on biblical values and service. Their success isn't an accident. It's a testament to the law of purpose-driven profit. So if you've been chasing success without a cause, pause and recalibrate. Ask yourself, what eternal difference will my business make? Because when you anchor your work in God's purpose, your profit won't just fill your bank account, it will echo into eternity. And that's just the beginning of the hidden accelerators Solomon discovered, like radical generosity. The law of radical generosity, the hidden accelerator of abundance. Solomon didn't just make money, he sowed it with abandon. His offerings at the temple dedication were so extravagant that historians still marvel at them. He understood a truth many godly business owners forget. Radical generosity accelerates abundance. Proverbs 11:25 says, "A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed." This isn't theory, it's a spiritual law as real as gravity. Imagine a Christian business that gives before it feels ready. Perhaps you run a small design studio and decide to donate services to a local ministry. Or you own a bakery and start feeding struggling families once a week. These acts of generosity open channels for God to bless you in unexpected ways. Solomon's fortune didn't shrink when he gave. It multiplied beyond measure. Generosity also rewires your mindset from scarcity to sufficiency. When you hold resources loosely, fear loses its grip. I've mentored countless entrepreneurs who felt they needed to hoard every dollar to survive. But the moment they started tithing or supporting kingdom causes, doors of provision swung wide open. This is the upside-down economy of heaven. You gain by releasing. A practical step is to create a generosity budget, an actual line item in your financial plan. Don't wait until your Christian business makes it. Start now, even if it's 1%. Solomon's example shows us that big gifts often begin as small seeds of faith. If you need inspiration, read The Treasure Principle by Randy Alcorn. It's a short book, but it will shift how you see wealth forever. Radical generosity also attracts partners and clients who share your values. When people see that your godly business exists to bless others, they want to be part of your mission. You'll notice opportunities multiplying. This isn't hype, it's a divine pattern proven over thousands of years. So as you consider how you'll sow into others, remember, Solomon never feared running out. He trusted that the God who provided once would provide again. And as you step into generosity, you'll discover wisdom is your next, and perhaps greatest, investment. The law of wisdom, multiplication. Knowledge as the greatest investment. While many today obsess over quick profits, Solomon knew wisdom was the ultimate capital. Proverbs 3:13 declares, "Blessed is the one who finds wisdom, and the one who gets understanding." He didn't just make money, he multiplied it through knowledge. In any Christian business, wisdom functions like compound interest, invisible at first, unstoppable over time. Think about how this applies to your life. Imagine you run a godly business coaching others in their careers. You could rely on your experience alone, or you could study best practices, read books like The E-Myth Revisited, and learn what truly drives long-term success. Solomon devoted himself to learning, gathering insights from across cultures and generations. That hunger for wisdom set him apart. Investing in knowledge also requires humility. Solomon was the richest man alive, yet he still asked God for more understanding. What would happen if you prayed each morning, "Lord, teach me what I don't know yet"? This mindset transforms challenges into classrooms. Suddenly, a slow sales month isn't failure, it's tuition for your next breakthrough. To apply this law, set aside time weekly for intentional learning. Whether it's studying scripture, listening to podcasts on godly business strategies, or meeting with mentors, guard this space like your most valuable appointment. Over time, you'll notice your decisions becoming sharper and your confidence growing. That's wisdom's quiet reward. And don't be afraid to invest financially in your growth. Solomon didn't skimp on acquiring knowledge. He sent ships to bring back resources and information from distant lands. Maybe for you, it means attending a business conference, joining a mastermind, or hiring a coach. These investments pay dividends far beyond any stock or real estate. As you lean into the law of wisdom multiplication, you'll find yourself prepared for opportunities others miss, and that readiness opens the door to the next essential principle Solomon mastered: building strategic alliances that expand your influence and prosperity. The law of strategic alliances: building godly partnerships that scale wealth. Solomon's wealth didn't grow in isolation. He forged alliances with kings, merchants, and skilled workers to expand his influence and resources. One of the most remarkable examples was his partnership with Hiram, king of Tyre, who provided cedar and craftsmen for the temple. This principle is timeless. No Christian business thrives alone. Strategic alliances are divine accelerators. Picture a godly business owner today who wants to launch an online product but feels stuck. By partnering with a marketing expert or a ministry with a shared mission, they gain instant credibility and reach. Proverbs 15:22 affirms this truth. Plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed. Solomon understood the power of collective wisdom long before modern networking became a trend. Building alliances requires discernment. Not every opportunity or partner aligns with your purpose. Solomon was selective. He chose allies whose values and skills complemented his mission. Likewise, you must prayerfully vet partners to ensure their character and goals won't compromise your calling. Ask yourself, does this alliance honor God and advance the vision He gave me? A practical step is to create a strategic relationship map. List people, organizations, or Christian business communities whose collaboration could multiply your impact. Then prioritize reaching out to them. Sometimes one conversation can open doors you've prayed for years to walk through. Don't underestimate the hidden favor in godly partnerships. Solomon's alliances brought him resources he could never have acquired alone: exotic materials, new markets, and fresh insights. When you align with others who share your faith and purpose, your influence extends far beyond your own efforts. That's how kingdom wealth is built, through networks woven together by God Himself. So as you consider who you might link arms with, remember, your next breakthrough may be waiting in someone else's hand. And when you embrace these alliances, you set the stage for the daily disciplines that turn potential into limitless riches. The law of daily discipline: small, consistent actions that create limitless riches. Solomon's legacy wasn't built on a single grand gesture. It was forged through daily habits that compounded over decades. He studied, planned, delegated, and worshiped consistently. Proverbs 21:5 underscores this. The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance. In a Christian business, it's not what you do occasionally, but what you do daily that determines your destiny. Consider how this principle looks today. You might dream of scaling your godly business to serve thousands, but it starts with one small action: scheduling calls, refining your service, or praying over your clients. These tiny steps, repeated faithfully, create unstoppable momentum. It's like depositing $10 into an investment account every day. Over time, the impact is staggering. Discipline also fuels credibility. Solomon's people trusted him because they saw his commitment. If you want investors, customers, and partners to believe in your vision, show up reliably. One practical tip: create a daily non-negotiable checklist. For example, read one chapter of Proverbs, contact 3 prospects, and spend 15 minutes learning a new skill. When you track these habits, you'll witness your confidence grow. The secret is to avoid perfectionism. Solomon didn't wait until every variable was perfect to act. He moved forward with what he had, trusting God to fill the gaps. Likewise, don't despise small beginnings. God often multiplies the humble, hidden efforts nobody applauds. Remember Zechariah 4:10. Do not despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin. To sustain discipline, anchor your actions in purpose. It's easier to wake up early or write that proposal when you see it as part of a godly business mission. Imagine telling your children, "These habits built the life we're living." That legacy is worth the sacrifice. As you weave daily disciplines into your life, you'll notice how faith and courage start growing quietly alongside them. Which leads to the next cornerstone of Solomon's wealth: the law of fearless faith. The law of fearless faith: acting boldly when others doubt. Solomon's story is a testament to courage anchored in trust. He dared to build the most magnificent temple the world had ever seen, even when skeptics questioned the cost and purpose. That's the nature of fearless faith. It compels you to act boldly in your godly business, regardless of how impractical it seems to others. as Hebrews 11:1 reminds us, faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. Imagine a Christian business owner who feels called to open a second location in a struggling neighborhood. To outsiders, it looks reckless, but faith sees opportunity where fear sees risk. Solomon understood that God's vision often defies human logic. Sometimes stepping out is the only way to unlock the resources waiting on the other side of obedience. This doesn't mean abandoning wisdom. Solomon prepared, planned, and sought counsel, but he never let uncertainty paralyze him. Many entrepreneurs get stuck waiting for perfect clarity. Yet clarity often comes after you move, not before. One practical exercise: write down one bold action you've been postponing. Pray over it, seek wise advice, and set a deadline to act. You'll be amazed how momentum builds when you commit. Fearless faith also attracts divine favor. Solomon's courage to ask God for wisdom instead of wealth unleashed blessings he didn't request. That's a pattern worth emulating. If you make your first aim God's purpose, He will add everything else you need. Matthew 6:33 says it plainly. Seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. If you ever doubt your capacity, remember this. Solomon wasn't born fearless. He grew into it by trusting God in small decisions before the big ones. The same is true for you. Every time you step out despite fear, you build a track record of divine faithfulness. Over time, that history becomes your confidence, and as you learn to walk in this courage, you'll discover that fearless faith naturally leads to a vision bigger than yourself, one that spans generations and creates a legacy no earthly wealth can rival. The law of legacy. Planting trees you will never sit under. Solomon's vision stretched far beyond his own lifetime. He built with the understanding that true wealth isn't measured only by what you accumulate, but by what endures after you're gone. Ecclesiastes 7:11 affirms this. Wisdom, like an inheritance, is a good thing and benefits those who see the sun. A Christian business rooted in legacy thinks in decades, not quarters. Think about the trees you're planting today. Maybe it's mentoring young leaders who will carry your mission forward. Maybe it's establishing systems that will keep blessing families long after you step away. Solomon's kingdom didn't dissolve because he prepared the next generation to steward it. That's the hidden power of legacy. It outlives trends, recessions, and even your own name. One practical example is setting up a trust or endowment that funds kingdom initiatives. Or, you might document the principles and values that guide your godly business so your children and team can continue them. Legacy isn't just about money. It's about transferring faith, wisdom, and vision. Imagine your grandchildren telling stories of how your courage and conviction shaped their lives. Building legacy also requires daily intention. It's tempting to get so focused on make money that you forget why you started. Solomon's writings often return to this theme. All riches are meaningless if they don't serve a higher purpose. Proverbs 13:22 says, "A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children." That inheritance is spiritual as much as it is financial. Legacy thinking brings perspective. The small frustrations of today shrink when you remember you're part of a story God is writing across generations. You're not just hustling for a bigger paycheck. You're laying foundations others will build upon. That's a purpose worthy of your best effort. And as you reflect on these eternal priorities, you'll see how each law in Solomon's protocol weaves together: ownership, purpose, generosity, wisdom, alliances, discipline, faith, and legacy, forming an unshakable framework for limitless riches that glorify God. You've just uncovered a blueprint most people will never hear about: the Solomon Protocol. 8 timeless laws that prove wealth isn't an accident but a deliberate partnership with God Himself. Now, the question isn't whether these principles work. The question is, will you have the courage to live them out? What would change if you started each day recognizing God as the true owner of your business? How different could your finances look if you replaced fear with faith and began sowing generosity before you felt ready? Imagine your children watching you build a legacy of purpose-driven profit that echoes into eternity. I won't pretend this path is always easy. It takes humility to admit you don't know everything, and even more courage to trust that God's ways will sustain you when logic fails. But here's what I can promise: no recession, critic, or obstacle can cancel the favor God pours out on those who dare to align with His kingdom. Write in the comments, "I receive Solomon's wisdom for limitless riches," and watch how this powerful declaration begins to shift the course of your business and your finances from this day forward. So what's your next step? Which law will you put into practice this week? Will you invest in wisdom, build strategic alliances, or finally start that godly business idea he planted in your heart? Your answers will shape the inheritance you leave behind. If this message touched you, consider supporting our ministry through the link in the description, subscribing to the channel, and turning on notifications so you never miss another lesson on faith and finances. Because together, we can raise up a generation that knows wealth isn't the enemy. It's a tool to transform the world.